everybody, and welcome back to the range. Tom here, and today we're doing this Shelby Cobra Daytona for my buddy over there at Manny's Custom Garage, and he issued a Mad Max challenge. First time he's ever done a Mad Max build, and he put a challenge out. So why don't we go ahead and let's get started. I've had another one of these Shelby Daytonas I customized for a friend of mine. I got this one with a care package, I can't remember from who. And it took me a while to realize what casting I was going to use for the Mad Max challenge. Excuse me. But, I knew, I wanted to go a certain route with it, and I knew I wanted to do certain stuff with it, but I wasn't quite sure what casting to use. And then I came across this. And it had the look I was going for. It had the setup. It had everything I was thinking about doing. In my head, it fit the T to it fit it to a perfect T. And so I just kind of was doodling around some ideas in my head, just trying to see what I was going to come up with, what I was going to do. So I started going through my arsenal, finding bits and pieces of armor, finding some engines, whatever I needed to do to make this one of my coolest Mad Max builds yet. And just putting it together, it came out pretty cool. I decided I didn't want this front end, so I cut it off. I made sure I filed it down, on the front there, and went about the whole setup, doing it the way I wanted it to do it. And I thought about going these wheels at first, but it just wasn't gonna fit the Mad Max theme. So I wanted the right set of wheels, and I found them from some Just Trucks castings. I ended up using those, and you'll see those later on here in the build. After I didn't need to do a lot of filing. I really didn't. Because it was going to be a Mad Max build, and it didn't have to be clean, it didn't have to be perfect, but to me, and I tell everybody, when it comes to Mad Max builds, the sky's the limit. You can do almost anything. It doesn't have to be perfectly glued together, it doesn't have to be perfectly put together, because nothing was perfect in the Gaslands or Mad Max themes or the Wastelands. Nothing was perfect. And I knew this car was perfect for what I wanted to do because of how low the body sat, on the base and everything, especially once I put the wheels on. I wasn't for sure about using this windscreen, so I cut it out in some areas where I was wanting it opened up at, because I was going to put something in the back area. I cut this little extra spare tire off, and I ended up cutting off more of it later on, because some of the armor I was going to use, it wouldn't have fit with it. And I completely took the windscreen out of the equation. I trimmed up the interior so it fit the base that I've already kind of modified off camera to get it started. Using some tube styrene, some square styrene, just to get it to where the wheels sat where I wanted them to. And I've already pre-cut the axle tubes out of the styrene to get them to line up already where I wanted it to go, how I was going to have it set. I already came up with an engine that I was going to work with, and I'm kind of doing the engine kind of off camera. But I didn't do the entire engine. I ended up doing the exhaust and stuff because the engine already came together with two, and I just added an exhaust system to it. And I'm glad I did. Here's the wheels that I ended up going with. Ended up painting the center rims, because it couldn't go Mad Max without a little bit of rust on the rims. It's pretty decent roller. Everything looks straight. It looks lined up. It doesn't look like it's a little offset with the base. Here's what I was starting off with the engine a little bit. I put some little panels on the side to kind of block off the open area that I had. And it sit perfectly. I had to file down a little bit in the front, though, to get it to fit perfectly down. to get it to fit with the front axle. But I kind of making my own style exhaust. Put them on the side. Honestly, I like how they stick up on the side. I didn't. It really didn't take me long to actually do the exhaust. Excuse me, because I already had it pre-planned in my head, like what I was gonna do. In a way, I just kind of had to figure out how I was gonna incorporate it with the actual engines. I kind of modified it here and there, because it wasn't really like going. I had drilled some holes so the styrene tube could fit in the sides where it would just kind of be sticking out the sides of the engine, and I made it to where it would fit with the base. And you guys seen how the base in the front had the sides come up, and stuff, and pretty much those were blocking the view of the engine. So what I did was I just kind of maneuvered the exhaust and stuff around the base to where it looks like it fit through the little sides where the wheels would go. Pretty, just going with the flow, just kind of. And that's the thing is, with the gasoline build, you just got to kind of work with what you got. And sometimes it turns out really cool looking. And the engine, I really like how the engine turned out. It looks mean. It looks mean. It really does. And I know I repeated that twice, my bad. But, once I got everything glued into place, that's when it started coming together. And, here it is, just kind of both of them put together. I'm kind of adjusting the tubes as I go, just to kind of get them to sit at a certain height. And I'm gonna go back over this engine with some chrome, and I'm gonna matte clear it, and then I'm gonna paint over it. I've had this front loader bucket that I've just been sitting around. I've been wanting to use it for a Mad Max build, and I just couldn't find anything that I wanted to put with it. But it just, for some reason, it just fit this style that I was going for. And, it wasn't that hard. I had to do some cutting and some sanding, make sure everything was smoothed down. I ended up gluing it underneath the actual bar where the axle sat. And, you see me filing here, but I ended up cutting a little bit off of the top there, because I didn't really want to use them. It just wasn't looking right. And, all in all, it fit better without those on top. And honestly, in a way, I wish I would have left them on there, because what I ended up doing later on, it ended up working out in the long run. But it would have looked a little bit neater, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about it. It came out great altogether. Even as I'm mocking everything up, you can just see how mean it's going to look. And I ended up doing something a little bit different with this one. I ended up adding some stuff to it, and you'll see that here in a little bit. I got some new things from eBay, some Mad Max parts. I made some spikes to put on the side, and that's something I've never done, was put some spikes on it. Got some new armor pieces. I got this little skull from Citadel Skulls from Amazon a long time ago, and I still got plenty of them left. Ended up making it look like a side spike went through the skull. And that's not the only time I did that. I put a little piece of armor up here, attached some chain, just to kind of give it that, look like the chain's going to be keeping the bucket from moving around. Added a skull to it. And it was going so well with this build. Like, once I actually got started on it, everything just kind of flowed into place. And if you've never done a Mad Max build before, you should try it, because they are an absolute fun build to do. I'm using window screen for the chain link style on the inside of the armor, and I really like how that turned out. It turned out really nice. You can see the screen pretty good, and I'm wanting the paint to look halfway decent on this. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but my version of perfect is different than yours. Like, And perfect can be like a perfectly clean showroom style car. What I mean by perfect when it comes to certain builds is I mean that it's perfectly going the way I want it to go. It's looking like how I want it to look. And I had this piece of styrene, or not styrene, it's a 3D printed piece that was based of something that I ordered from Benchwork Toys. I was gonna use this, but I don't know, it wasn't looking right. And I was just test fitting a few of these kind of pieces before I just like, you know what, I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna do a different style piece of armor and go from there. Then, like I said, some of the new style armor that I got from eBay, and I love the new sets. I love my new. I got a bunch of new weapons. I got to end up getting a harpoon gun. I ended up getting some skulls, some different kind of armor that actually folds, that will go on the top of the car and fold downward. Just having this new stuff is actually really neat because it gives a whole new look to the car. And I've never put spikes on any of my castings before, but for some reason this one just needed them. It really did. I knew the spikes would actually make this one set out a lot more from my other builds. And Manny, when he put out the challenge, he goes, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little drawing of like spinning the wheel or something like that. And whoever's turn it is, they're going to spin it. And whoever's name that they land on, they get that person's custom. And there's a little bit of a group of us on Instagram. A couple of us has got together and we're doing it's pretty much like a random act kindness build, just, a buddy build, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to end up giving our customs away. So this one's going away to somebody. I just don't know who yet. But, whoever's going to get it's going to love it. I know they are because I love it. I think it turned out amazing. It might get damaged in shipping, but that's okay. That's the best thing about customizers. We know how to fix stuff if it comes our way. And I'm doing the same thing with the back spikes that I did with that side spike. I'm kind of mounting some skulls, cutting some styrene, mounting a skull, cutting styrene to a pointy shape to make it look like pretty much they just shoved the skulls onto the spikes and are driving it around like that. I thought about having some chains dragging with some skulls on it, but honestly, that just kind of was a little too much in my book. So I wanted to go about it this way because I wanted to try it. I wanted to see if it could be, I know it could be done. I just wanted to see if I'd be able to do it without having to drill a hole through the skulls. And I didn't want to do that because I was afraid I'd crack the skulls and stuff. So I just kind of did it this way. I got plenty of styrene just laying around, so I had extra styrene, so it wasn't like it was going to hurt anything by putting these on there. I thought about putting some kind of mesh on the back. I ended up putting a seat in the back for a machine guns that I painted up, and I put two 50 caliber machine guns. Put them together, glued them up, made them like a double firing weapon, made it to where there was a little post that I could put the gun in. As you see, right there in the back there, that little rod, that's not the post. That is actually to keep paint from going inside the tube. So when I put the actual guns in it, it can still rotate. I'm doing this stuff that I haven't done in a while is the salt chipping technique. Put a little bit of water or some salt on little bits and pieces of the casting just to get it that chipping effect that a lot of people look forward to. And what I ended up doing after I put, what it is just, it's an aluminum color base to give it that metal look. I'm going to end up rusting it out later, but, that's okay. But I wanted to start with something base because I didn't want a lot of the styrene to be shown or the bluish gray armor. I wanted to kind of give it a metal look first. Of course I'm going to be detailing the little front bucket here with the little armor and skull and stuff. I got to do the base. I didn't do the same color with the base. Well, when it came to the aluminum, yeah, I did the aluminum color on the base. But what I ended up doing was, after I painted it the first color, and what you'll see here is a light rust color that I went over the first coat with the crud. The first coat of the salt chipping technique. And, I kind of dabbing it around, just kind of giving it that little rust feel. And yeah, I'm going to add to it later. But you're not going to get to see me do all that to the casting or the base. You'll get to see me do something with the engine and all that jive first. But after, I got majority of this done. And the base and the body was the only ones I was really doing the chipping technique to. Because it would have looked a little bit better doing it just these. Because it's the base and it's the body, I didn't want to do no chipping technique to the engine or anything like that. And, I'm glad I just stuck it this way. And, gotta clear off the mat. Gotta do some more painting. And here's the 250 caliber machine guns that I put together on a base. Kind of started going over it with a gunmetal powder from Tamiya, I think it was, that I got from Hobby Lobby. So I went over with the gunmetal first to kind of give it the color of a weapon system, just kind of trying to darken it up a little bit. And it looks pretty decent. I'm not too worried about how it's going to look because I ended up putting some rust on it. And, giving it that been weathered look, in the rain and all that stuff. Like, if there was rain, I don't know. But, the engine, I chromed it, and then, like I said, I put a matte clear over it to kind of give it this look. And and plus, I didn't want the chrome to be running or come off. That's kind of why I went ahead and, chromed it and then matte clear coated it, so it would stay in and it would give it that dull silverish looking aluminum style color. And that's kind of what it looks like. It's a dull aluminum. I went over the rust, took some soot powder, painted the valve covers and the little tops here. I'm gonna rust over them here in a little bit, but like I said, you won't get to see all that. I'm just putting minor details on right now. And the engine looks great, it really does. And when I put all this rust effect on it and stuff like that, and I matte clear it and get it to where I want to put it, it's gonna turn out really good. I'm really gonna be happy with the way this turns out. And whoever's going to get this is going to have one cool custom. I took the interior, did a base Iraqi sand paint color, and I'm detailing some black, but, I'm only detailing it to give it a little more contrast, or, give it a little more depth, or whatever you want to do with just, painting certain parts black. Yeah, I'm going to end up rusting over it. So why don't we go ahead and check out what we started off with. This I don't know what year it is, but it's a Shelby Cobra Daytona, my bad. Nice little casting, really cool car, honestly. I like the body style, I like how it looks. I'm glad I ended up using this one instead of like 5 other choices I had prior. But, without further ado, why don't we go ahead and check out the final results.